we were just really great friends and really enjoyed each other. And then eventually it was like, we're dating, what are we doing?
Sometimes you do have to kind of maybe just take that chance and give it at least a little bit of time.
Like, I want to be able to share like what God's doing in my life. Because I know successful marriages that she's a Christian, he's not. But it's hard.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey,
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm so glad. It's so funny. So we tried to record this on like not Zoom, but like, you know, at home, and it just didn't work out. And I was like, you guys, let's do a studio session.
Yeah.
So much better.
So much better. So I'm so glad to have you guys in here and get to hang out in person.
This is great. This is
I know,
lovely.
because we don't get to see you that
I know,
often either, so it's so much better.
We get to sit in air conditioning.
I know, that was worth it. Just,
Honestly, you guys, I don't have AC, and it's like,
you poor thing.
oof, like some days the apartment gets like 85, and I'm just like, I am just sweating like on calls sometimes. It's great. It's great. My clients don't get to see that, but I'm like back here, like the fan, you know.
I used to live in an apartment without it. I mean, we now just have like window units, but
Yeah.
live in an apartment without anything. And I would like stick my head in the freezer quite often, or like just jump in the shower like cold and then sit on the couch wet. It was like the ways to cool off.
Oh man, so it's nice. I was like,
Yes.
we're in a new studio today, which is really nice. So it's the first time recording
Beautiful,
here.
yeah.
It's stunning. So shout out to our studio producers here.
Yeah.
At the Christian Podcast Studios. Woo! They're the best, you guys. I'm so glad I found them. But anyway, I'm so happy to have you guys here today.
Beer.
So this is obviously a continuation of our marriage series, and what we're doing is we're talking to different people at different stages of their marriages, and I'm loving this because we're getting to see people's stories and how they met and how they started, and how sometimes they're unconventional. They're not the typical like we met like this and it just worked out, and I think you guys have kind of a little bit more of an unconventional start, and I love that. So I'm excited to kind of dive into your story and your background and how you guys met and everything. But to start, I want to know how long you've been together and how many years you've been married.
Ooh, all right, pop quiz. I know the answer. No,
Well, yeah.
Let's see
Yeah.
who knows this one.
he knows.
Yeah, I mean, we've been married for 6 years and been together like, well, I mean, off and on for like 10 years.
No, but officially, let me set the record straight. No,
Guys, this is what I mean by unconventional. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Like-
I mean,
like,
officially 8
where
years.
Do you start? Where do you start the yeah?
No, but
The
we
clock.
were like, when we got back together, we dated for 2 years
Yeah.
and then got married.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then have been married, six
6
and a half years, yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I love it. And you have one kid.
Yep, and one on the way.
Oh my goodness. Wait, I didn't know that. You didn't know that.
Surprise!
Okay, amazing. Congratulations. Do you know what you're having?
You know what's so funny is I have the email in my inbox.
Okay.
with the gender. And since last week, and it's burning a hole in it, but we wanted to, in my inbox, and we wanted to do a little gender reveal. So now,
cute.
anyways, we were going to do it last week and it didn't happen. So we're going to do it this Sunday. But I was like,
You're like, I
killing me,
want to
like,
know.
dying to know.
Yeah.
That would be so hard to know that it's sitting there. And not, like, I'd be like, get my phone away, like, take the computer. I would want to
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, it's like, okay, we only have one more kid. Like, we got to do it right, you know? So I'm like, oh, fine, I'll be patient.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, will I be boy bomb or will I have one of each? I don't know. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And we're gonna do something like that involves our son, like lets him be a part of it. So it'll be fun.
Yeah,
What
just like
are
a
you guys
puffy
gonna do?
balloon.
Okay,
It's as simple as
cute.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
nothing huge or whatever, but we're like, we might as well, and then just gather some friends, you know? It's
Yeah.
super simple, but
I love it.
we had to wait till next weekend.
Oh my gosh. That's
So I don't know.
That sounds
TBD.
So yeah, so there's that.
There's that.
Yeah.
Yay. I know.
So-
It's like, wait, I just
8 years
not
plus
aware.
2 kids.
So exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited.
Well, I would love to backtrack. I want to know kind of how you guys first met. What was that first kind of season of your dating experience like? Patrick? It's like,
Well, so we met at a restaurant.
okay.
I was a server. He was a bartender. I was working there first, and then he a couple months later started working there. And I mean, it was instant. Like we were both attracted to each other. And at the time, he was still dating someone, and then they broke up, and then we started hanging out and like started dating. And we dated for about 6 months casually. It wasn't like, you know, we're in a full blown relationship or anything. And then broke up. And because it was such a small, intimate restaurant, just like a mom and pop steakhouse, we still saw each other all the time. And even though I was like, I don't like that guy, whatever, try to avoid him. He was always so nice to me, and we still just became friends again. And we had one of the girls that worked there kind of became our friend as well. So the three of us, we would have all these adventures together and go on vacations and had all this time. So we continued to like hang out and become friends. And that was about a 2.5 year period in between breaking up. And then we kind of slowly started, to get back together, and then started dating again. And then that's when we dated for 2 years and got married.
So why did it end the first time? What was kind of...
Yeah, I mean, like, so as Carly mentioned, I had gotten out of a relationship. We were kind of dating casually, and I just wasn't ready to like dive into another really serious relationship at that point. And she kind of was like, give me an ultimatum. She's like, what are we doing here? Like, are we going to become a serious couple or not? And if not, then I'm going on my way. And I was like, fair enough. Like, I can't give you what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And so we, separated. But like you said, we still saw each other every single day and spent a lot of time together. So, yeah. And then from that, like that initial relationship, like Carly said, was a lot of just, instant, just kind of physical attraction and, just very fun and just the newness of a relationship. And from there, it, once we kind of went our separate ways but remained friends, that friendship really kind of grew and blossomed and then really turned into a really true, meaningful, deep relationship, like a real true relationship that was formed out of a really great friendship initially.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How did that transition happen? How did you go from like, we obviously broke up, you're annoyed, but also kudos to you for standing up for what you actually want and not just like, okay, cool, I'll accept this even though it's not what I want. So I think that's also, it's amazing that you actually stood up for that, because I think a lot of people don't, but they're like, but this is great, but this is what I want, so I
well, and a huge part of that too was I'd never dated someone that wasn't like full-blown Christian. And at the time, he grew up Catholic and everything, but he wasn't like necessarily, I would say, like following the Lord. And that was, it's kind of embarrassing to look back at that first dating, because poor guy, I was like I would never do this now, but I would like proselytize, like preach at him and like try to convert him, like all the things that are like jaw-dropping terrible, like, the worst way to like, literally, poor guy. I think that also was kind of a turn off. He's like, well, this girl is like, great.
Whoa.
And so I think that was part of it. I was like, I just, like the black and white of like, I'm not allowed to date a non-Christian, like that kind of like that's how I was thinking at that time. And so that kind of where I was like, no, this can't work, and then when I was like, hey, where are we at? And then he shut the door on that. It was even like kind of almost easier, right? Like, well, he wasn't a Christian anyways, And then the next 2.5 years becoming really dear friends and then getting back together, that was still a high priority, but my heart was still already so invested. And now I'm getting in a whole other part of our story, but I also grew personally a lot in those 2.5 years, just because that's what we do in our life,
Yeah.
And I think that's when I I would never, when we got back together, I had grown a lot and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing the way I was like acting the first time around. I would never be like that now.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also, like, to your point about us growing, you were able to see me as more than like a non-Christian person. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Exactly. As like a non-Christian, right?
Yeah,
and I was able to see you as more than like this Christian fanatic. Like we were able to actually see the more rounded whole person in that 2-year span of us like becoming good friends and spending time together and just hanging out without the pressure of this relationship. And I think that, we kind of grew together.
That's
those
true.
2 years.
I never thought of it like that. Yeah. Yeah, without even realizing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and realizing through those 2 years that we actually wore a really good fit and a good match for each other, and that there were a lot of characteristics and traits in each other that we really valued and looked for in a spouse.
Yeah.
And then going back to your original question, I think that's kind of what changed in that, like, that, you know, we were just really great friends and really enjoyed each other. And our attraction never went away.
Yeah.
There was always an underlying attraction.
Yeah.
And a flirtation and everything. And so then I think we just kind of morphed into hanging out one-on-one more and more. And then eventually it was like, we're dating, what are we doing? And then like, you know, let's make this official type thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what changed and made it like from friendship to relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome because I don't think we see that today because obviously you have the apps and you're dating and it's like you only have a couple weeks to kind of like, do we do this or do we not? You know, it's like it's very much we've lost that ability. I don't think people are friends. You don't go on the dating app to make friends, right? And so it's so interesting because I wonder like how many people do we miss out on because we aren't seeing the well-rounded person, right? We're just seeing.
You don't give it the time.
Yeah, we're just seeing this snippet of like, I met you for 2 seconds online. We're going on a date, and that's what I'm judging you off of. I'm judging off of like 2 seconds.
I've got to make my decision right now because there are other people on the app that I, am potentially missing out on.
Exactly, and you're like,
this
well, I
isn't
don't
it.
want to waste my
gotta move
time.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And so I think that's such an amazing testament to that is like it taking our, and I get, we all don't have the luxury of that. Like, especially as you get older, like I'm 35, I'm like, I don't have time to be friends with you for 2 years before we decide if we want to go on a date and then like get married and then I'm 40, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that too, but I think it's just a beautiful testament of like the foundation of friendship, like how that can really build a great relationship and put you in a position to be in a great marriage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to your point, even though with the apps and with, the way that the pace of life these days, I feel like people who are finding, their people or their others, through these app and these dating sites and stuff, it's like sometimes you do have to kind of maybe just take that chance and give it at least a little bit of time and not try and make that split-second decision. Because if there's even like a little glimpse of something that's there that you might see some promise in, like, then do yourself a favor and at least give it just a little bit of time to see if it does become something rather than making a split-second decision.
Yeah.
Because you do need that. I really believe you need some time.
You need some time. I mean, no one gets to know someone fully in one date.
And you always put your best foot forward.
Of course. And and you don't get to know all their intricacies and quirks and till later. But I don't think like though friendship is necessary for a happy marriage, right? Or a healthy marriage, I don't think necessarily that you need to be friends first or, you could certainly have that develop alongside a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
100%.
It just happens to be that art. And honestly, had you told me that I would meet, my future husband at 29, 29, and I wouldn't get married until 35, I'd be like, hell no. Like I had to wait 7 years, or 6 years. I mean, that's crazy, right? Yeah. But also, obviously, God has his way and his path and everything. And so, yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that. But it's just an interesting thing to kind of...
But it was one of those things where it took a while to get to the point of marriage. But once we knew that it was that we were going to get married to each other, like that was very fast. Like, we were engaged for like 6 months. It was like very, very, like we knew that this is what we wanted and this is what, like, she was my person and I was her person. And it was like, nothing was stopping that from that point.
That's true.
So I know obviously, in the Christian world, we have that story of like, can't date anyone non-Christian. And I struggle with, I go back and forth because I've heard some amazing stories, obviously doing this. There's a mentor of mine too. His name is Roland, and he and his wife literally, like, she was not Christian and he felt really drawn to her and was like, no, there's something here. And he had, he was in like a community group and of really great men that he was really close with. And he's like, I need you guys to pray for me because I'm too close to this. And like, if this is a no from the Lord, I'm done. I'll end it. Right.
Yeah.
He's like, but I need you three to pray. I mean, they fasted for him. They prayed over him.
Wow.
And all three of them independently came to a conclusion that, no, this is your wife. And it like doesn't make sense when we look at it in the conventional Christian way. Right.
Yeah.
And he's super spiritual, has always been like great relationship with the Lord, like just an awesome man. And they've been married like, I think they're 40 years now or 30 something, and it's just so it's crazy to see that. I'm like, God can do so much, but it's like, where do you draw the line to advocate? Like, do we just start dating non-Christians? And what if they never convert? What if they never, and so it's like, I struggle with that too. Like just in my own faith, like, it's like, where's that line with a lot of people? So I was curious with you too, when you guys kind of got back together, was that a struggle for you? Were you still feeling like guilt a little bit in it? Or were you like, no, I see the change he's making? Or like, what did that like feel like? Because I think it's tough as Christians. We want everything to be black and white.
Yep.
And the more I do these series and I interview people and couples that are Christian, it's like, it's not black and white. Like none of these couples who have amazing marriages that I can stand by and say like solid, right? They've all started totally unconventionally, or like God worked in their lives just so differently, you know? And so, you know, so I was just curious for you, like, how was that for you?
That's a really good question. I definitely struggled with it. But I had fallen in love with them, you know? And when we got back together, I was like, okay, well, we'll just date and, you know, figure this out. But as we got more and more into it and I was falling more and more in love with him, I kind of actually got to a point where I'm like, it was a little bit that like in my mind of an ultimatum of like, if he doesn't at least show interest, and because I hope, like, I was really trying not to repeat the mistakes of the first time. So I was really cautious of not, you know, saying, come to church with me or do this or, you know, but kind of just letting it run its course. But it did come to a point where I was like, I need to know if you're even interested. And he always believed in God. He just, you know.
Yeah. That's it. We got to clarify. It wasn't like I was like an atheist. Right?
Yeah.
I still had a relationship with God, and I still firmly believed in Jesus Christ. But like, I just wasn't like a regular church going person and living what I would say is a Christian lifestyle.
Yeah. I think that's a good distinction though. Because it's not like you were starting from like someone who, like was an atheist or just didn't believe at all.
Yes.
You know, it was just more like it wasn't your lifestyle, or maybe it wasn't even a priority at that time.
Yeah. And I would put these words in your mouth, but I feel like you didn't have necessarily a personal relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, I believe in God and, you know, I believe in Jesus. And anyways, but, and you can speak more to that. But, so again, going back to that ultimatum, was kind of like, I need to know if this is going to go anywhere. Because I, for myself, realized even in that time, and I don't know if I've even shared this with you, I was like, I don't want to go throughout life with someone who doesn't align with my beliefs. It feels really lonely. Like, I want to be able to share like what God's doing in my life. Because I know successful marriages that she's a Christian, he's not. But it's hard, you know, and that brings challenges. And so to me, it was like, I really don't want that. And so it just so happened to be the first time he came to the garden, our church. Hang on real quick. I got to speak to that real quick.
Mind. So like before that, so she would periodically just like casually throw it out like, hey, I'm going to church this Sunday. Like, do you want to come with? And I was like, no, I'm good. I mean, but it wasn't like, again, to her, like she wasn't like forcing it on me. She would just kind of just throw it out there and extend the invite. And then literally like one Sunday she asked, and I just felt compelled. I said, yeah, you know what? I will go. And
that day they were advertising or talking about Alpha, which is like the course for, you know, to people exploring their faith or whatever, non-believers. And it had just started. And so after church, I asked, hey, would that be something that you're interested in? And it was such a God thing because it was the perfect way of like exploring our faith together. And, you know, learning about everything. And he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, yeah. And the whole time they were describing Alpha during the course of, you know, at church, like I was in my head, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty, like I could get behind this. This sounds pretty interesting. I would like to maybe check this out. And then she brought it up afterwards, and I was like, oh, I was actually gonna bring this up to you as well. Like, I think this would be great. And also on top of that, that day when we went there, the pastor was, you know, growing up Catholic, it was very much like the, you know, angry father kind of looking over you and like checking off all the things that you're doing wrong and stuff. And that was kind of one of the things that pushed me away from the church. And it, again, very much a God thing. Like the pastor that day, his whole sermon was just about a loving father that just wants to have a loving relationship with his child, you know? And I was just like, man, whatever you're preaching, I'm buying it. This is all like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
So it was very much God was present throughout that whole first encounter.
And then we went to
Alpha.
Did the Alpha course together, and I mean, it was a life transforming experience for him, and came back to the Lord and everything. And I will say, in the background, I had been sharing with my community group. I had my best friend and roommate praying for him. I remember she's a pastor, and I remember her saying, well, let's just ask God that he will save him and make him your person. And it was so like, and she was so in it, and so I'm almost tearing up. Aww. But it was really like, it was just really wonderful. Like, oh, not that God always answers our prayers the way we want it, but it was like, oh, he gave me this, so to speak, right? And obviously God loves him more than I love him, and he wants him to be part of it, so it was just really incredible to see how God was just like flinging doors open and just paving the way for your
and I think
story.
To kind of bring it back to your initial question to her of like, how do you deal with, just trusting in the Lord that this relationship will turn into the right relationship, even though I'm not a Christian. I mean, it's just that, right? It's just having faith that like, God, I have faith that you put this man or woman in my life for the right reasons, and that you wouldn't, take me down this path if it wasn't the right path.
Well, and I think, but having open hands, right?
I was going to say that's the key.
Because I was willing, I was devastated and scared, but I was willing to give him up if it had been a closed door.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I got my fairy tale ending, but I think that's the key because plenty of people come in our lives for various reasons and they're not it or of them or whatever. Like, so it just happens to be that, I got my way. No.
Yeah. You're like, I won.
I won. 1 point.
But I think that's such a great point. Is to be open-handed. Mm-hmm. And I think oftentimes we're not.
So
hard. And it's like, I want this.
Yes.
No, God, I don't, and I think it's sitting in that discomfort of like, I don't know, actually, and trusting and being open-handed to know, like, if God tells me to walk away, I have to be willing to do that. But I also have to be willing to lay it at his feet and actually in prayer be like, I have to give this to you. Like, this is my desire, but at any point you could say no.
Yeah.
And I have to be willing to walk away. And I think that's the big difference, Yeah. And I think there's heart posture too. I think when we're looking at, being with someone and maybe they're not on their journey yet, but it's like, what is their heart posture in that, right? If you're a year in and there's still nothing, not even a remote like interest, then it's like, you have to maybe make that decision earlier, I don't know. That's how I would see it. It's like, how do you balance that and be open-handed with it, but still be cognizant of like, this could end. Like we're not on the same page, without forcing someone, right?
Yeah, respectful of your own beliefs and your own boundaries and needs. Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, that's a real tricky thing. And that was one time in my life, I feel like I was actually real faithful. Like, do I do that all the time in my life? No, right?
Hard.
But I don't know. That's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard.
Really
all of that.
Tough. It's really So I'm curious too, now you guys are in this relationship. What was the turning point, the second turning point of, wait, I actually want to marry this person? Because you guys dated for 2 years. You had known each other for 2 years prior to that, a little longer. So you've had you've had plenty of time at that point to get to know each other really well. So I'm curious, what was like the green flags or the moments that you're like, wait, we actually have something here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just feel like as time went on, I just realized like how much she complimented and completed me, She kind of filled in a lot of the things that I felt like I was missing or needed in my life. And I feel like that's what you should have and what would help make a marriage work is you need to find someone who compliments you and who is the yin to your yang, like the person who is your biggest supporter, but also your biggest kind of pusher and like encourages you to better yourself. And that's what she was doing for me, case in point of me coming back and finding the Lord and, bringing Jesus back into my life. Like that was huge. So I think for me, that was a turning point. And then it sounds really cheesy, but like we like she said, we were always on like little adventures and stuff with our friend Deb. And there's this thing so when they run the LA Marathon, you can kind of not illegally, but like it's just kind of known that before the marathon starts, you can go out there super, super early with your like bicycles and things like that. And you can literally ride the entire course of the LA Marathon before the race starts. So like we would go out there at like
Which is super fun.
2 in the morning.
I didn't know you could do that.
You should do that.
Like 2 in the morning, we'd go out there
gosh.
because the race starts, you know, at 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and literally you can go the entire course because all the streets are already closed off. So you're just riding through the streets of LA
like
with
Rodeo Drive
no
for
traffic.
people.
And it's really fun
that's
watching
so
the sun
fun.
come up. It's amazing. So we would do that every year with Deb and a bunch of our friends. And yeah, the year that I was like, this is the girl I'm gonna marry. I remember we were like cruising down Hollywood Boulevard and like the sun was coming up and she was like riding in front of me. And it was like literally like something out of a movie. She kind of looked back and like her hair was like blowing in the wind. And I was just like, wow, like this is the girl I'm gonna marry. Like this is it. This is the girl I'm gonna marry.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really awesome. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
I think I'm emotional because of the baby. I'm like tearing up again.
I was like, maybe it's pregnancy hormones, but like it's also
we'll blame
very
it on that.
sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I already felt those feelings, but
Yeah,
like that was kind of like the aha moment of
Yeah.
this is the real thing, and I'm going to ask her to marry me.
That's so
I do.
I do again.
Wait, and didn't you say that I was like one person you didn't get annoyed of or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like I'm not real like. I'm an extroverted introvert, right?
Yeah.
So like I can be around people for short periods of time, but it exhausts me, and after a while, I need to like draw in and kind of recharge my batteries.
Yeah.
So for the most part, people after a certain period of time kind of bug me, but never her. Like she never bugs me. Like I can be around her all the time. Like in COVID, we were around each other 24/7, and I never got tired of her. Yeah. So I mean, like that's not a sign that she's the right person. I don't know what is.
You're like, I'm
And
not sure.
Yeah.
Got married to him. No, that's so fun. You know, it's funny because I like feel so less, you know, a lot more shallow because I don't remember like moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I have a terrible memory too, but
It's okay. It's hormones. I blame hormones on everything. I'm like, it's hormones, bad memory.
yes, thank you. Yeah, it's you. But I just think I just didn't want to live life without him. That's what it was. Like I was just so like addicted in the best of ways, you know, and to him, and I just didn't ever want to live life without him. I think that's what really was, and I don't remember being like, this is who the man I'm going to marry. It was just to me like a natural, yeah, of course I'm going to marry him.
Yeah. It's like you couldn't think of the opposite, right? You're
Yeah,
like,
I couldn't
there
think of
was
the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. I often think about like there's a certain point where, like when good things happen in your life, like before her, and something good or bad happened, the first person I want to call is my mom and like talk to her. But like I feel like at some point all of a sudden it became her, and it's like oh, like I feel like that's a point where you realize no, this person's really important to me because she has usurped my mother in terms of like the person that I want to share life with and share my victories and my downfalls with and come to for celebration and comfort. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, what was one thing that you felt, or something that you felt like once you got married that you only understood because you were married? So a lot of times, you know, people will give you marriage advice or relationship advice, but you don't really get it or know it until you're like in it, right? So, what was something kind of early on for you guys that was?
that's easy for me. Selflessness.
Oh,
Yeah, because I think we both had that kind of aha moment when we got married and we moved in with each other and we were sharing our life together, our finances together, everything. All of a sudden you realize, oh, everything I do now, I have to be cognizant and think of that other person and how it's going to affect them. When we first got married, we literally had conversations about this and about how we both didn't realize it until we were in it, that this is now the way we live our life. It's like, you know, you can't just go off and if you see a shirt or, you know, a video game or whatever you like, you don't just make random purchases because you have to think of that other person, how that's going to affect them. It's like, I have to think now about how we live our life and share our finances and share our life together. And, you know, even just like going out and spending time with the boys or the girls or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you want to like let them know and communicate with them. It's not, you're not just your own single person any longer.
Yeah.
You have to be respectful of that other person. And so that's
Yeah.
that selflessness and that mutual respect,
I agree that it was a
which
huge
is
thing.
different. Like it's there when you're dating, but it's not. It's a different,
Yeah,
it's different.
it's different when you're
It's
married.
totally different because you still
Totally
have your own, like you're still your own person. You still have your own schedule, and I think that was a big thing too. That learning like exactly what you were touching on is, oh, our schedules are even shared, right? So if you want to do this on Saturday night, and you have this obligation, and oh no, I have to go with you, and like it, that was a big adjustment, but kind of goes with your larger point. Yeah, I agree. That was a big.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it wasn't contentious in that, but it definitely, again, a big adjustment. And being 35 when I got married and you were 37.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're all that more like a little bit more, not stuck in your ways, but used to your rhythm and stuff. It's not impossible by any means, but it is a little bit harder at times, right? So just kind of adjusting.
Yeah. We are definitely a testament to the fact that it's never too late because
And that's not even that old. I mean, it's not like, you know,
Yeah.
it's not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, look, Taylor and Travis just got engaged and they're
Right, I mean-
35 plus.
Yeah.
The internet broke, I swear, when that happened.
Oh my goodness. It is.
But no, it's true. It's a great testament to like you're not broken at 35, right? And there's nothing, you can still get married. And I have a lot of clients on my end too that feel hopeless at that age. They feel hopeless in like, I'm 33, I'm 34, I'm 30, and they're like, I'm not meeting anybody. And it's like, life can change like this.
Yeah.
You could literally meet someone tomorrow. It's like, it doesn't, your life's not over in that,
Yeah.
right. And I get, as women, we have a biological clock. I get it. Like, sure. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful testament that like, it can happen later in life. Like it doesn't mean it has to happen at 29.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, like I look back, I'm like, I thought, because this is what my parents did, right? They went to college and got married. So I thought I'd be married straight out of college, right? So 22, if that we're going like by that. And I look back, I'm like, I was nowhere close to being married. I mean, being marriage material in the way or ready for it. And even all through my 20s, like, of course I always thought I was, but in retrospect, like, I think I needed every one of those years up until 35 to be ready for marriage and to be willing to be ready for marriage, right? Because I loved my freedom. I loved my social life, all this stuff. And not that married life bogs you down, but as we're just saying, it changes, obviously.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I almost like, don't worry. Like if it's going to happen and like, then you're also so much more sure of yourself of who you are. And I think that's also been a huge part of our marriage that's helped it be maybe a little less tumultuous in a way, is like when we got married, we both were pretty sure, like knew ourselves really well. Because we were a little bit older.
Yeah, which can go both ways, right?
Yes, sure.
Right? Like, there's one train of thought where you get married young and
you're malleable.
you grow together as a unit, right?
You hope to grow together.
Yeah, but you could also grow apart, right? And the same goes when you get married later in life. You can, because you are so set in who you are and you're confident in your own self, it can go either, great, as it has with us, like we both know who we are and we are still very much our own individuals, but we found someone who complements ourselves, right? Or you can grow, you're both too independent of who you are, and there's no way that you're ever gonna, it's oil and water.
Yeah.
I mean, it can, either way it can happen, but.
Sure. And of course, there's the extremes, but I just think in my own experience, it was a better thing. And I also look back of thinking, oh, I had a lot of insecurities and stuff that I needed to deal with that I didn't even know I was dealing with to be really ready for, a good and healthy marriage.
Yeah.
So I think 35 plus is great. And I'm having a kid I'll be 42 when I have my second kid. So it's like, it's all good, like
It's going to be okay.
it's gonna be okay. Like, I know we stress out about it. And yes, we do have a biological clock, but like, it's so like, we're not in that time period of our parents that got married, in their 20s, and then they had all their kids before they were 30, and that was that's just not our age.
It's not.
Yeah. So there's one thing I do have to share is like, and we've laughed about this many times.
About age?
Yeah. I finally shared with Carly, because again, I got married at 39. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I was like, like before I met you, I was just kind of at this point where like, I was like, at 40, if I'm not married, then I'm probably just going to be like, I'm just going to be a single guy for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with it. Like, it's just not in the cards for me. And then we obviously met and got married right at, I made it barely. But
I know,
made
but I
it.
was like,
You slid by.
40, like life ends at 40. Like,
I was like,
you really were just like,
just gonna be like,
it's so silly.
But no, it worked out great.
And 40 is not even old, so it's so funny. I know. So I always give him a hard time for that. I'm like, oh, you were just gonna like wither away in your loneliness. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
No, it's if you think about like if we live to be 85, 90, I'm like 40 is like not that bad.
Yes.
But when we look at it in perspective, just like, your decades, you're like, oh my God, I'm 40, I'm old. I'm like,
Well, it's because we live in a time where, like we haven't, our kids will look at 40 as like nothing because life expectancy will have been, 90 or 100 for such a long time that it's just understood. But like, we live in a time where our parents, they got married at 20 because you oftentimes died at 60 or 70. I mean, 40 was getting towards the end of your life. So it was like, we got to get on this and get going. But we're kind of in that transition period of like, no, actually life expectancy is so much longer now. 40 is like midlife essentially. And there's still plenty of time.
Oh, and I've like, as an
Even
example, one of my
30s is
dear friends just got married at 43, found the love of her life. Like,
Yeah.
and she had wanted to be married since college. It's like, yeah, you could still like find your person. Like it's 40 is
There's
still
no right way to do it.
everyone,
Everyone finds their own path.
for sure.
what do you feel like in marriage? Like, where did you feel like you had to grow the most? Like, what did marriage reflect back to you in your personal lives? Because it shakes things up. I feel like you're closer. You're living with someone. There's like this closeness, especially as like an introvert. I'm like you. I'm an extroverted introvert, and so it's like curious where did you have to grow and expand a little bit or change where you realize like, ooh, I don't like that about me.
To not leave dirty dishes in the sink.
No, come on.
No, go ahead. I can answer real quick.
That's fine. You can go.
I think for me, communication was like, because as an introvert and also just my family dynamic, I mean, I have a great family and I love them very much. I had a wonderful, wonderful upbringing, but like, we just also were not the kind of family that just openly talked about our feelings. And, it was just kind of everything's fine and all that. But for me and for our relationship, we put a lot of, I think, value in that. And I think you, especially like that's something that you really value is the open communication and sharing where we're at and our feelings. And so I think for me, that was one of the things I had to grow into was being able to express myself to her emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That though I also am still learning to do well, and with that also to fight well. And that, I think it's amazing now the way we have our arguments is 1,000% different than when we first got married. It's more of a conversation now than it is when we first got married. It was like raised voices, and then thankfully it never was this huge screaming match by any means, but it was still, anyone listening in would be know that it's a fight. And I think and I would dread, I have always been a conflict avoider, so I'd avoid things that would bother me to the till it like exploded. Which is the worst thing to do. And like, I just had to build up the courage. I was like so afraid. And I'm like, you kind of back up and like, what were you afraid of? I don't know, conflict, right? And so I feel like for myself, it's really made me learn how to fight well and to bring it up quickly. And then it's not a big deal, And what's cool is I've seen how that's translated into other areas of my life in like with employees or friendship relationships. Like I feel like I've developed a little more fearlessness in bringing up conflict. And
not only to fight well, but to like resolve and to make up well, right? Because
repair. I think repair is huge
repair
in relationships.
Because I can look back at like previous relationships, and I always had to be right. Like it was like when we fought, like I had to be the one that had the last word and like to be the one that was right. And with her, because we were
I'm
married,
always right.
she's always right. No, but because you're married and it's like you're with this person now and you're going to have to wake up next to them the next day. For me, it was like, yeah, sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I was wrong and I really screwed up here and I am sorry for it and I apologize.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turning point for me because, yeah, previous relationships, I always had to be the last, have the last word. And it's just for us, when we're being married, it's just like, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
What I think the huge difference is because you're married, there is a obviously long-term commitment. Like you can't walk away so easily. So the stakes are not as high in a dating relationship. It's like I feel like your walls go up so much quicker because you're like, well, again, a lot of fear, and then so it's, I don't know. In certain ways, it's harder. In certain ways, it's easier to kind of admit your fault. And I also think along those lines too, in resolving it is then also not holding a grudge. Then it is over and you move on.
Yeah,
and even though you're like the first seconds, you're just like, don't touch me. But really, I think that we've gotten so much better at that of like, okay, you said, I'm sorry. I'm going to believe you and I'm going to so we're going to talk and, move on normal. Yeah. And that's been also so helpful in our conflict because again, it's not going to ruin the rest of our day. It's just a little blip that we had a conversation, we hashed it out and we move on. And that's so key, I think. And so much that I've learned in marriage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think John Gottman and his wife, Julie Gottman, they talk a lot about that. They said like the number one indicator of a healthy long-term relationship is repair. So it's not just the conflict, doing conflict well, but it's once you have the conflict, how do you repair? Are you holding a grudge? Are you, keeping score?
Yeah.
And so they 100%. Said that like that is such a huge indicator whether someone will get a divorce or not.
Wow.
And it's not the lovey-dovey, it's not the connection, it's not all these other factors.
Yeah.
They've done tons of research on this, and their number one thing is repair. It's conflict resolution and repair.
Wow.
And it's because what happens when you don't do that, right? A little tear, more tear, and it's just you just add that up over time, and then you wonder why at the end you're like, we just grew apart.
Yeah.
But it's like you didn't grow apart, you never repaired the hurt and the pain, and then the resentment builds, and it just stacks up over time.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great testament of what that looks like in practice when you're married for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like that has to be a priority, I think, in the marriage is the communication and the conflict resolution because you're going to have it.
You're going to have it.
You can be best friends and your marriage could be great, but like you're two people, you're going to have the conflict.
Yes. Also, it's odd if you don't, right? Like,
well, then I think then you're not communicating.
Then you're not. Yeah.
If you're communicating and being open and honest, like, you're gonna have conflict, right?
Yes.
If you're not, then I'm a little concerned.
That's so good. I've never heard that before.
that's
with the repair,
really, really
and it
good.
makes me more motivated. I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna make sure we repair. But it makes total sense.
It's one of those things.
And then you add a child to the mix, right? Yeah. And that doesn't help conflict in any way. It just makes it trigger. Not that we, have conflict all the time, but obviously it adds another challenge.
It adds, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, especially like those first few months of having a child where you're like sleep deprived and it's just especially with your first kid, you're like stressed and it's like the stakes are so high because it's your first child and you're irritable and it's just like there was definitely some conflict and some butting heads at that point.
That's true. But I remember you very clearly kind of calling it out and being like, hey, that's not how we treat each other. And I remember being like, because, so tired. You're like, whatever, don't talk to me. And I appreciated you saying that because it did kind of knock me straight of like, yeah, you're right. We don't treat each other like this, even though I'm grumpy.
Yeah, I'm super deprived and tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that transition for you guys? Like, having a child. Let's be real. No one talks about the like
Okay.
but I also want to say, what is it like to having a child when you're older as well? Like, how was that for you guys transitioning? Like going from being, married and, I do want to go back to like, I love you guys' first couple years of marriage. Like you just built so much like fun and connection, but I'm curious too, what was that transition like? And also, how was it like to be an older parent?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, older relative.
No,
but you know
but
what I mean?
in the grand scheme of, yeah.
So let's start with the years before the child, because I think it's important to note that to your point. Like, so we got married in 2019 and our initial plan was to go on our honeymoon in 2020. We were going to go to Vietnam. and we had everything already booked and ready to go. And it was like end of March was when we were supposed to take off, and we were so excited. And then COVID hit. And so obviously that got scrapped. But like and then, you know, our plan was, you know, go on our honeymoon and then start having kids. But because COVID, we couldn't do our honeymoon, but we really, truly felt like the importance and the call of like not just jumping right in. Like we were like, no, we have to have our honeymoon before we have kids, because like if we don't have if we just go right into having kids, we'll never have our honeymoon.
And
like,
we'll resent that.
We'll be really bummed that we never did that for ourselves and for our relationship. So we like held off for 2 years until we actually got to go on our honeymoon, and it worked out better. We ended up going to like Bora Bora and stuff like that. But it allowed us that time to, looking back on it, to grow as just the two of us in our marriage before diving right into having children, because having a child is a huge stressor on your relationship. Even if your relationship is solid and very, very strong and built on solid foundation, having a child will stress you. It will push you. It will test your relationship 100%. And so I think it was really, again, just a God thing of like, I'm not saying that God gave the world COVID so that he could help our relationship, but like looking back on it and seeing how bummed we were initially, but then like going back and seeing how important those 2 years of building our foundation as in our identity as the two of us before diving into having a child. I think that made having a child, I think we survived that early transition into childhood better than we would had we not had those 2 years of living our relationship just the two
I agree.
of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes sense. I'm kind of rambling, but
no, I think it's a great place to kind of set the stage for that, because I think having that solid foundation is I think, like you said, so important for bringing a new stress factor in. It's like, this has to be strong, so when this weight comes on top of it, doesn't crumble. And I think sometimes people think, oh, we'll have a kid to save the marriage. It's like,
the worst thing.
That's probably not going to happen. That's going to make it worse. Like it's more stress factors, you know.
Have this child, and it'll draw us together, and it's like
it draws you apart. If in a
because you're tired. If you don't have that foundation, you know, I don't know that he would have called you out and been like, hey, we don't treat each other that way, because you didn't have that way before the kid.
Good point.
You know, and so I think that's so beautiful. You had that time, and one thing I loved about that time, like you guys shared a lot on Instagram about this. But I loved how you guys, like, you made the best of COVID, and I think you guys had so much fun with it. You guys did your little dinners, and like I literally was like tuning in all the time, like, where are they going this week? You know, tell us a little bit about that, because I thought that was so cute and so fun, and just to me, I loved seeing that because it was like a testament to you guys and your relationship, and I think just like the fun that you guys had, like you could tell that you guys were just good friends. You know, and I loved that. So walk us through.
We did have a lot of fun.
Tell us about your COVID romance.
I know, right? Well, and again, we're like, well, the luxury of not having kids during COVID is, I mean, I can't imagine having it, you know, and millions of people had kids during COVID. I'm like, but it was Patrick's idea. He came up with, he's like, it started, we did one evening, I think we had like German food, and I remember I dressed up just for fun, whatever. And he's like, hey, what if we did like every week we went somewhere different? And then, like, and he loves
to a different country. Quote unquote.
From home. And he's a fantastic cook. And so he would research and find the recipes and do everything from scratch. And then I would kind of decorate our little table. Sometimes if I had the costume, I'd dress up because I love a good costume.
I add costumes for some of these things, you guys. Like, I'm going to have to pop some photos in. So you guys
totally.
So we did like, let's see, we went Costa Rica. We did Japan, Mexico, Italy, France. I mean, it was real fun. Switzerland. And it's so funny because now I think about like, where did we have all that time? Well, I wasn't really working. You were working, but from home. And again, no kid. So it was fun. We had a good, like real fun time doing that.
It was something to like do throughout the week and look forward to at the end of the week. And it was just kind of just something that was, kind of grew into, you know, something that was fun. But I think that lasted, I don't know,
I think we did it 8 weeks.
And then we were like, this is actually really tiring. It's a lot of work.
I know, because you guys went all out. Like you decorated, like it was the whole thing.
Sometimes I'd be in the kitchen for like 5-6 hours because I was making everything from scratch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think like Japan night, we didn't eat until 10 p.m. or something like that.
Oh my God, 'cause you were-
I was making sushi and all.
Those are hard to do the rolls. Like,
Yeah.
And he made miso soup from scratch. I mean, like literally everything from scratch. But
my
it was
gosh.
it was a good time, definitely. And you know, it's amazing. Like people still comment on that. Yeah,
I still remember it like vividly. Like what, that was so long ago. Like why do I still remember that?
I mean, it's so fun that people remember that. But it was a good time. Yeah, and I will say too, kind of in your question about the transition to a kid, we also, which was made it challenging to have a kid, is that we love to travel. We had so much fun, just the two of us. Like I feel like we were constantly going places, all that stuff, and then having a kid was like, whoa, all of that goes away. You know, the ease of traveling. Of course, you can still travel, but it was this very different.
Just pick up and go.
Yeah, and then our son Indiana was just a challenging newborn. He had a real bad case of acid reflux. I mean, thankfully he was healthy. He just never slept, you know. And so those first 4 months in particular were brutal. I mean, and our whole regular life was just upside down. And
Yeah. So, because you asked about like what it's like having children later in life, and I think that's
that's
one area where. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. But that's a point. That's a good point too. Of like having later in life, I feel like the energy is less, right? Like I see how I'm like, think about when you pulled all-nighters in college or went out, drinking all night or something. In your 20s, you recover the next day, right? You drank like a soda and you felt good. And you when you're 39 and 41 or whatever, I mean, it's different.
Yeah,
And
one
so-
cocktail and you're like, wow, I'm already hungover. You know what I mean? Like
gotta go
you're like,
home.
wow, I need 4 days
and
to
it's
recover
4
now.
o'clock now.
One sleepless night with a kid and it like wrecks you.
So that is a big difference of having kids older. I think the energy level is different. But I also think the difference is we had so much fun and had all of our single time for so many years that we were kind of ready to go into a different phase of life. Still a huge adjustment. and at times we still kind of mourn for that. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm okay. Like, I don't feel like I need to be out every weekend doing things.
Yeah,
like,
it's a different chapter.
it's just a different chapter. Yeah.
But it definitely, being older and having children, I feel like we realize like, when you're younger and you're not so set in your ways, the introduction of a child probably isn't as like dramatic and such a complete 180, because it is a total 180 to your lifestyle. And so being older and being that much more set in how you like to do life, and like she said, we love to travel and just be kind of spontaneous, and that being taken out from underneath you was definitely an adjustment. I feel like having children older in life, that's one of the hard aspects is giving up that lifestyle that you become very accustomed to. But also, we wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, we love our son, and obviously we love having children because we're having another one. We're doing this to ourselves again.
I know.
What are we thinking? No, but then also, what was the other thing I want? Oh, go ahead. I'll think about.
I don't have, I mean,
yeah, I'm just trying to remember. I had something, but I forgot.
transition.
Oh, it's okay. Well, and something else I wanted to add on that too is now with a kid and one on the way, like how do you actually maintain the connection? How do you prioritize the relationship when it shifts so much, right? And you have to like really try now.
I mean, that's definitely. So I will say that there's no doubt that our relationship as like, husband and wife has definitely not suffered, but it's kind of taken a back door to the parenthood role. But like, we still very much are in love with each other. It's just like I think you just have to accept the fact that, especially in these first few years, like this is your job, and this is what you are called to by the Lord, is to take care of this child, this gift that God has given you, and to steward this child into life and give your all to this child. And then this chapter will be over and the child will become more and more independent. And then you can kind of go back to that, to building that relationship again that we had before.
Yeah, but I think though we could be better at it.
Yeah, we
definitely think that like we should like prioritize more date nights. Like I know that is like, I see other couples that do it and they're like, that's such a life-giving experience. And I feel like we both have just been very much like head down in our careers and just really working, and then the kid and this and that, you know, and then even just practical things of, we don't have family that we could just like, hey grandma, can you come over and babysit? It requires a babysitter. So you're like, okay, that cost, and just little things like that. But I am grateful because I don't feel distant. I feel like we still are connected. But I do think like, I mean, even like the drive, you know, to the studio today was like, oh, it was just like, we had such a great conversation and just, you know, like nice connecting. Because what's funny too, is with a kid, you don't realize like, they'll be like, they don't like you talking. They'll be like, no, read me a book or something. And like we're trying to talk and he keeps butting in because he wants the attention. And that's just so funny. You think, well, okay, you play there and we're going to have a conversation. Yeah. It just doesn't work like that, at least at this age. You know?
Yeah, it's why we took the scenic route down here.
Yeah, you're like,
we're going to like take a nice drive along the coast and like just enjoy.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely room for improvement, but I
remember what I was going to say. So we've actually talked about this, how, you know, we were kind of very set in we were very happy with the life that we had before our son. We knew we wanted to start trying to have a child, but we spoke about this afterwards. It was like, fortunately for us, the Lord blessed us, and it was very easy for us to have a child, get pregnant. And we realized what a huge blessing that is. But it was almost like God's way of saying to us, like, this is the path that I'm taking you on, because we both were like, we were going to try and have a child, and if it didn't happen naturally, like we were just going to be like okay with the fact that this just wasn't for us. We weren't going to use other methods or anything like that to intervene. And it was like, if that just wasn't going to happen, it wasn't going to happen. But and we were okay with that. But it did happen, and it happened so quickly that we were like, it was like God saying, no, like this is what I want for you. Like you are going to be parents, and you're going to have a child. And it's been the greatest blessing of our life. Like, we love our son so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So anyways.
That's true.
You know, for people who are listening here who are single in the dating world, what advice would you give them that you would want them to know before getting married? Kind of thinking back on your journey and what you've learned in marriage and in, you know, parenthood. What's something you would want to tell someone who's single?
Well, I would say this is probably unconventional, but I look back at, especially 20s, I feel like every person I dated, I was like, is this the one? Okay, it's got to be, you know, and I just feel like, don't stress out so much. Like, chill out. Like, just have fun, enjoy. Don't waste your time, but like, don't make, and again, this is also coming from the Christian world perspective where, you know, you gotta find the one. Yeah. And if it's not it, what are you doing? You know? And I think that was like, I wish I could tell my younger self that, of like, don't stress out, just have fun in a responsible way and just enjoy dating and getting to know yourself and what you want and what you don't want in people. As we get older, obviously then, you know, time and everything, I have to think about my answer for as we get older, but that's my initial for the 20-something-year-old.
Yeah, I think knowing who you are and knowing what is important and valuable to you in a relationship. And ironically, the only way you're going to know that is by dating and taking those chances and going out and meeting people, and realizing like what is important, what can I live with, what can I not live with. I think just getting out there as much as possible, like you said, responsibly, and but just taking those opportunities and those chances to date and meet, so that you can kind of identify what you really truly need in a spouse, so that when that person does come along, you don't miss it, and that it is clearly evident to you, maybe not necessarily clearly, but you are more able and capable of identifying the fact that this person has those values or those characteristics or those traits that you have identified through the dating process are important to you and that you need in a significant other. So that you can then invest that time in that person and say, actually, this person is someone that I'm willing to take the next steps with and explore this relationship further.
Yeah.
So I think, but you also have to do the self-work on the back end
Yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, again, going back to the being married young versus being married later in life, you know, when you're young, you're really kind of figuring that out. But just, and then when you're later in life, you've already got it kind of more figured out.
Yeah.
But just doing that work on your own of who am I? What do I want? What do I need?
And what do I have to offer?
And what do I have to offer?
Because I think if I'm have my list and wonderful things of this person that I'm hoping to find, well, what are the areas in my life that I can be improving on? That's being single is a wonderful time to, and even though you won't find out some things until you're married, it's still a wonderful time to like improve and be like, what areas am I lacking in? You know, and it can be very practical, or it can be, you know, philosophical or psychological, or whatever. You know, it can. But I think just do the work too. Like, we all have work to be done, and if you can kind of knock some of that out while you're single, it's a lot easier than finding out in marriage of like, whoa, I never dealt with X, Y, and Z or whatever.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, knowing the things that are quote unquote deal breakers versus the things that you can learn to live with or accept. Because like you said, even in marriage and then in parenthood, that person's going to change. It's just, it's inherent with the process. Like, we are not the same people that we were before we got married. We're not the same people that we were when we got, you know, after having a child. We've grown into, you know, a different version of ourselves together, but also individually. And, you know, I just always think back on the Good Will Hunting quote of, it's one of my favorite lines of like, you know, you're not going to find the perfect person. That perfect person doesn't exist. It's just a matter of finding the person that's perfect for you, right? And sometimes that may be with those little, you know, idiosyncrasies and little tidbits that may not be what you thought was what you wanted, but it might actually be the person that you needed.
Yeah. And I think especially having that that list, so to speak, in your mind is like, yeah, you should have the deal breakers, but be so open-minded, because I think of some of our friends that are in their 40s that are still, you know, they're wanting to get married, whatever, and they're just kind of pigeonhole themselves like, no, this is the perfect person that I have in mind.
This and this and this.
And it gets more and more solidified, and then
And it gets more narrow
and more of a unicorn, and then you really miss out on maybe like even giving someone that initially you would never think to give a chance, who could maybe be, I don't know, like I just just to keep an open mind, which is easier said than done, but people surprise you all the time.
If you hadn't taken a chance on this non-Christian boy,
No,
what would happen?
well, good thing your dashing looks just
No, but I think it's such a good point too. You know, I think that's something I shifted a lot in my own life recently too, over the last couple of years, was saying yes to people that I maybe like. There wasn't a resounding yes at the beginning, or maybe they, you know, especially now at 35, I'm like, okay, I'm more open to guys with kids.
Yeah,
I'm more open to guys who are divorced. I'm more like the gates are opening wider versus like getting more narrow, because you realize, like, I think, you know, God will bring people, and sometimes a package that you don't like, you didn't maybe anticipate or recognize, you know. And I think personally, my prayer to God's always like, don't let me miss it. Like, I'm not even praying for like needs to be this. I'm literally just like, Lord, just don't let me miss it when it's my time, or when it's the right person, you know, or when it's someone that you deem important in my life. Like help me now in my singleness to keep an open mind and to grow in certain areas and to be more accepting in certain areas, so that when that does happen, I'm not like, you know, roadblocks are up and I, you know,
this doesn't check
and this doesn't
box.
check out, you know, and I see that a lot. Like I actually recorded an episode yesterday on how, you know, in our dating life today, those roadblocks are starting so early to things like, he didn't confirm, done. He didn't send this more good morning text, I'm over it. Like, I mean, literally it's starting so early that like, we're not even giving a little bit of a chance. Like, you know, we're nixing people off like so quickly. And look, I I go into that. I get why that is the case, but
Kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this
Mm-hmm.
conversation about like that, the lightning fast speed at which you have to decide is this the
right
person?
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on these little, tiny nuances. And I'm like, I think that us trying to protect ourselves is actually us, keeping ourselves from connecting with others and getting to know people, and I think that's what I see kind of in dating today, And so I think I love your guys' story because I think it's just a beautiful testament to like, what does it look like if I do just, extend it a little bit longer? I do give someone, I actually try to get to know somebody, right?
Yeah.
And I think it can surprise us. Like I think God can surprise us. God can do a lot of things, but I think we have to be open and willing to allow God to do that.
Yes.
You know? And so I think that I see that a lot with people at all. When we're older, like we do have to be more willing and more open to what that might look like. From God, right? And I think if we're not, we might miss great people.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think that's yeah.
I mean, just to your point, like my girlfriend I just mentioned that got married at 43. Well, her husband is divorced with 5 kids. And guess what? Was that her, perfect
Knight in
list?
shining armor, yeah.
No, but she, this is her person and she's so over the moon and, this is her dream man now. And that's a great example of, had she been, forget it. Then she would have missed out. And it's, and of course, with that comes challenge, whatever. But I think that that's such a mature way, the way you're looking at dating now, that I think to me, it seems like the healthiest way, right?
Yeah.
Of just, hey, open hands and God, don't help me. Don't let me miss it.
Yeah.
And also as we expand our kind of, view or options, I think it doesn't mean that we're compromising. It just means that we're allowing more people to either to meet more people or to give more, I don't know. I just think that
it's just to connect more, right? It's just
more.
opening up and being like, okay, I'm willing to connect with more people. And if it doesn't work out still down the road, that's fine. But it is being a little bit more open with that, a little bit more open-handed. But also, again, it's a delicate balance of I'm open-handed, but I do have standards of certain standards that I don't even love the word standards because I feel like that is such a convoluted word now. If it's like, well, that's my standard. I'm like, sounds like a roadblock, but that's okay. It's like I think you have to have things that are important to you, and questioning. Why is that important to you? Right? I think we don't like to do that, but I think that's an important thing is why is this so important to me? And if you have a valid, strong reason, if it's not rooted in an insecurity, then I think it's solid. If it's rooted in an insecurity, that tells me you might still have to heal.
Yeah.
that's a good
And I
point.
think the insecurity part is why people have so many walls up. Because the thing
They're
is
trying
rooted.
to protect that.
Yeah, they're protecting, and I challenge a lot of my clients with that. I'm like, well, let's go further. Tell me more. Why is that a fear? Why is that a problem? What's the fear? Okay, well, then what? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, well, then what? And then what? And if you keep going down, they get to the end of it and they're like, well, I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it ends up being this fear rooted in I don't want to date someone who works too much, but I want them to be successful. It's but it comes down to the fear. The underlying fear was I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to be forgotten. I don't want to, And so we create these standards that I just think are unhealthy a lot of the time. So I do want to say to people listening, it's great to have standards and to have these things, but I also feel like we do need to challenge them and understand why is this a standard?
Yeah.
Why? And really dig deep. I mean, spend time with yourself. This is what you do in your singleness. Understand why is this a problem for me? I don't want someone with kids. That's fine. Okay, but why?
Yeah.
Is it because, another woman's involved and I don't like that? Okay, is it an insecurity? Okay, but let's talk about that more. So it's the more you can dig back, I think, into the whys behind things, I think your standards or your core values will probably come out more.
Yeah, for sure.
And it'll it's kind of I was thinking a sand, and you're putting it through a sieve.
Yeah.
It's kind of you're shaking it up, and then it's the bigger, more important things will remain, and everything else will kind of fall through.
That's so good.
I think that's what's holding a lot of people back. And by all means, I think the hard part that we don't want to listen to is we have to be open-handed with the timing also.
Yeah.
Because that's really hard, And I get it. I'm over here some days, I'm like, I'm great single. And the next day I'm like, Lord.
Yes.
I'm still, so I get it. It's a roller coaster. It's a constant roller coaster. But I think it's being open-handed with both the person and the time.
And I think it's also kind of shifting our mindset into what modern day dating and relationships look like. It's not like what she said. It's not like our parents where you had to get married right out of college, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you find your person and that's the time, that's the
absolutely.
time. Do it. Like, don't not do it because you think, oh, I gotta wait longer and to find out who I am. No, if that's the time, that's the time.
Right,
but
right.
being comfortable with the fact that in today's society, it's more and more common for people to establish themselves, establish their careers, establish who they are, and then start thinking about relationships and settling down and things like that. And that's okay. It's okay to like wait a little bit
Yeah.
and be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself for that and not beat yourself up. Like, well, because then you start thinking, well, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're taking your time, to your point. You're allowing yourself the time to figure out who I am, what is important to me, and why is it important.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to enter that, and to enter a marriage, you know?
Yeah.
And again, being open-handed with the timing of that.
Being open-handed.
Yeah.
Being open-handed.
I mean, again, had you told me at 22 I wasn't going to get married to 35,
Yeah.
you kidding me? That's half my life right there in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it was the right timing.
Yeah.
And the right person, you know, took his time, but but finally he showed up.
I think it worked out because I don't think you guys would have been ready for one another. I think had you not broken up that first time.
I agree.
I think you probably would have built more resentment over time. It probably would have just been a situationship that would have just dragged on.
Yep.
You know, because he wasn't in the right mindset. And I think this happens a lot, right? It's like you get stuck in these things because you're like, oh, I'm not sure, but I like him, but I want to stay, but it's not really commitment and it's not really what I want. And so I think that's beautiful to see that. It's like I kind of stood up also for what I wanted and this wasn't it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And even had we met earlier in life, I don't think that we would have honestly ended up together, probably.
No, I don't think so.
Right?
I don't think it was.
Like it literally was,
you the chance.
it was
Yeah.
us coming into each other's lives at the right time and then giving it the time and the faith that it needed to let it grow into what it's become.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming today. It was really great to have this conversation and just to kind of hear your story and just to see God's faithfulness in it, you know, and it not looking, again, like, oh, it's conventional or the way we always think it's going to go. And I love that. So I appreciate you guys coming
Thanks
out.
for having us.
Thank
It was
you.
so fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is really fun.
Kind of fun to take a little walk down memory lane.
I know. And just hear different perspectives, and you forget a lot of things too. So it's kind of fun to be forced to kind of rehash and remember things. So
I love you.
Aw, thank you. Awesome.